The last notes of the evening news faded into the hum of the refrigerator. Mark sat on the couch, the remote control heavy in his hand, but his mind was miles away, replaying the scene in their kitchen just hours before. The crumpled receipt, half hidden beneath a stack of utility bills. Emerald Coast Resort, 3 nights, room 207, and a date 2 weeks ago. A date Amelia had told him she was at a mandatory all-day corporate retreat in the city. He'd called the resort, asked about room 207, asked about the dates. They couldn't give him names, but the manager confirmed a booking for those nights. And then, as if the universe wanted to underscore the cruelty, a subtle, almost imperceptible detail in the background of one of Amelia's video calls from that retreat, a reflection in a window, a palm tree swaying in a familiar, too warm breeze, the Emerald Coast. The betrayal wasn't a sharp stab. It was a slow, agonizing twist of a knife he hadn't known was there. 10 years. 10 years of shared laughter, quiet evenings, ambitious dreams. A decade of believing in them. He had loved Amelia with a fierce, unwavering devotion, building their life brick by careful brick. Now, every brick felt like it was crumbling. He'd considered confronting her, exploding, demanding answers, watching her carefully constructed lies shatter. But what then? What would that accomplish other than a torrent of accusations, denials, and the ugly public dissolution of everything they had built? Mark wasn't a man of impulsive rage. He was a man of quiet observation, of strategic thought. And in that moment of crushing realization, a different path began to form in his mind. Not revenge, not even justice, but an unveiling, a revelation that would show Amelia the true cost of her actions, without him having to utter a single word of accusation. For the next 2 weeks, Mark became a phantom in his own home. He smiled, he nodded, he asked about her day, he complimented her new dress, listened to her stories about her colleagues, and even made her favorite dinner. He watched her, seeing the subtle shifts he had overlooked before, the guardedness in her eyes when he asked about her retreat, the way she sometimes flinched at a sudden noise, the almost imperceptible air of distraction. He was studying her, cataloging her tells, preparing for a performance she didn't know she was about to star in. He found the perfect opportunity at their annual charity gala. It was Amelia's favorite event, a glittering affair she had always orchestrated with meticulous precision, from their matching outfits to their strategic networking. This year, Mark had taken over the entertainment aspect, a minor detail he had never cared about before. He arranged for a local pianist, a string quartet, and a small, independent photo booth. He even, with a feigned casualness, mentioned to Amelia that he'd secured some old vacation photos to cycle through on a large screen near the entrance, a nostalgic touch for their 10th anniversary year. Amelia, bustling with last-minute details, simply nodded, preoccupied. The night of the gala arrived. Amelia, stunning in a sapphire gown, was radiant, moving through the crowd with her usual grace, greeting friends, charming benefactors. Mark watched her, a hollow ache in his chest, his plan unfolding with chilling precision. The evening progressed, speeches were made, champagne flowed, laughter echoed through the grand ballroom. The string quartet played a romantic melody. Then, as the main course was being served, the large screen near the entrance flickered to life. It began with photos from their early days, awkward first dates, a blurry photo of their proposal, their joyful wedding day. A collective "awe" rippled through the room. Amelia caught his eye from across a table, giving him a warm, appreciative smile, a silent acknowledgement of the beautiful nostalgia. Mark simply smiled back, his heart a block of ice. The photos continued, cycling through cherished memories, their first home, a trip to Italy, holidays with family. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the sequence changed. A vibrant, sun-drenched beach, a picturesque resort pool, a familiar, brightly colored cocktail, the Emerald Coast. There were gasps from the guests, not because the photos were scandalous, but because they weren't photos of Mark and Amelia. They were clearly of Amelia laughing with an arm around a tall, dark-haired man who was decidedly not her husband. They were sitting by the resort pool, their faces flushed with sun and intimacy. One photo showed them clinking glasses, another showed them walking hand in hand along the beach. The last image lingered, a close-up of Amelia smiling, her head resting on the man's shoulder, a look of uninhibited joy, a joy Mark hadn't seen in her eyes in years. A hush fell over the room. The music, a sweet melody of a love song, suddenly felt like a cruel mockery. Every eye in the ballroom turned to the screen first, then to Amelia. Amelia, who had been laughing a moment ago, froze. Her face drained of color, turning a ghastly white. Her sapphire gown seemed to lose its luster. Her smile dissolved into a gaping maw, her eyes wide with incomprehension, then dawning horror. She looked at the screen, then at Mark, who stood perfectly still by the entrance, a ghost of a smile playing on his lips, his eyes completely devoid of warmth. She hadn't realized, she hadn't suspected a thing. The photos weren't just a betrayal, they were an execution. In front of all their friends, their colleagues, the entire social circle they had carefully cultivated, her secret was laid bare. The shock on her face was absolute, a raw, naked terror mixed with utter disbelief. It wasn't the anger she had expected from him, or the tears. It was this quiet, devastating public unveiling. Mark didn't need to say a word. The photos spoke volumes. The stunned silence of the room, the averted gazes, the whispered murmurs that started to ripple through the crowd. These were his chosen instruments of revelation. He simply watched her, her perfect, composed world shattering around her, piece by agonizing piece. The echo in their empty house had finally found its voice, and it was deafening. He knew with a chilling certainty that this moment would haunt her far more than any angry words he could have ever spoken.